Hello, welcome in. I hope everybody's been doing well. Making some time to make a little bit of art. Got a little 4x8 painting here. Got some green paint on my palette and so I put it to use and made a small painting here. And I'm just going to use this technical pen with pigment ink to outline the small pebbles in the background. We'll add in some shapes and finish it up. I'll just add in a few of these outlines. Just helps define that background and add a little interest to the painting. Hi, No Face. Wait, you have to measure? No, that sounds like math. There's no math. This is a no math channel. How you doing? It's been a minute. Well, sure, guesses. See, that sounds like fun. Measuring, that sounds like work. You know how it is up in YouTube on the weekends. We have to set some kind of a bar, you know, a very low one. But otherwise, it gets very trolly. Limbo challenge, exactly. And it's my sneaky tactic for picking up a few subscribers every live stream. And surprisingly, they usually stick. Which, I guess it makes me happy that they stick. I guess. this very strange world of YouTube. But it's not meant to inconvenience anybody or to exclude anybody. Um, I don't think screening is excluding. And I've tried running it without the subscriber requirement, and it almost always devolves into something a little bit hairy, so. Oh my goodness, 6 months old. My family lost, well, I lost a cousin at 10, and families that lose children are never the same. So I'm just racking my brain to think of anything besides I'm sorry that your family had that loss. And I'm sorry that your family had that loss. No face. I was just a few months older than my cousin. And we spent a lot of time our families were very close, and this was the cousin that was closest to me in age, and we always were playmates and buddies, and it's funny, you know, there's things that happen and I'll think that I wish he were still here. And there's things that happen and I think, God, I'm so glad he never had to live through this stuff that's going on. So I guess the grief and the loss cuts a lot of different ways. I don't think there's a week that goes by that I don't think of him. I thought this painting was going to take much longer. But sometimes they just go together really quickly. check beside the plant. No Face says it's 4:20 and he wants to know where his cat is. I'm gonna guess curled up somewhere shedding on something, if it's like my cat. So I had started a painting and got a little ways into it, and just couldn't quite decide what sort of rocks and pebbles to go in here, and so I thought I'd just sketch out some and see if there was anything that caught my eye. And I was thinking some green tones, but I'm not loving that color combo. I think I might just go out and oh, well, I finish one thought and then I'll catch up with that one. I think I might go with some things that are in more some warm tones. Yeah, that might be the way to go. So No Face says he let his cat out and she's out exploring. She's not come back in. That's worrisome. I live in a place where it's fairly busy, so I don't do the indoor-outdoor cat thing. Cat I adopted is perfectly happy to remain indoors, and so and I'm glad, because they do have a habit of going out and doing cat stuff and then worrying us. So yeah, you've got weather going on out there too, yeah? Now I'm worried about your cat. We'll send you some good vibes for the cat coming back. So I guess we'll paint a little bit, maybe. Frankly, I don't know what the hell I'm doing today. It's been a couple of weeks. There's just been stuff going on. I've been trying to get back into the groove of streaming, and it's been a bit of a struggle. I expect every time I'm gone for a week, I catch a little bit of hell from people who are just like, "Where were you? What was going on?" Just stuff and things. Nothing too major or dramatic. Does Who usually go wandering, or does she come? Is she kind of a homebody, or is this unusual? Now we have to run down the whole cat personality routine. Let's see if we can figure out what we're dealing with. So I've just I've just got the palette set up here. I'm just going to spray the paints and activate them with a little bit of water. Okay, I'm going to spray all the paints with a lot of water. And I'm telling myself the usual, which is, it's just paper, it's just paint, not rocket surgery. Feels like it sometimes. This can be a little tough to get stuck in and get working on stuff sometimes. Okay, now I've learned after, I don't think you were here the night, one of my chatters asked me how to paint rocks underwater. And I took that very literally and proclaimed that it was not possible to paint rocks underwater. One would have to take them out, dry them off, and set out. And it was some time later when my brain went, "Oh, he meant painting a picture of rocks with water flowing over them." So we got a good laugh out of it. And that person hasn't been back yet. I keep waiting for them to come back so that I can explain that I wasn't being a smartass. I was being a little autistic there with the literal way of, yeah, no. I mean, and I ran it down. I was like, well, you couldn't use oil paint. You really got to have a dry substrate before you can you can paint some rocks. So let me clarify on this question. No Face asks us, have I ever thought of painting real river rocks? Now, do you mean like putting paint on the rocks themselves? Or do you mean painting a picture of rocks with a river flowing over them? I'm gonna need a little more information. Oh, man. As long as we're laughing, it's all entertainment, right? Ah, there's always a cat hair. It seems like I'm off to a good start, and then there's a cat hair. And the rocks. Do I have a container of rocks that I've collected? Yes. Have I bought the materials to paint the rocks with? Uh-huh. Have I actually painted the rocks? No. No. But uh I'm trying to think if technically they were they're rocks I picked up over at the at the coast, so they were beach rocks or ocean rocks. But yes. And out here, people like to leave them. Oh, not with the potato again. People like to paint the rocks and then leave them places for people to find, and you put a hashtag on the back so that they can go into social media and upload upload a picture of where they find it, and then sometimes people pick up rocks and they'll relocate them to other places so they can travel around. And really, I'm trying to avoid the potato look. Although I don't know, maybe I should switch it up and just paint a whole painting of potatoes, because who doesn't love potatoes? A couple of paintings back, I had 2 or 3 things in it that really very pretty much an Idaho spud. I think that is the drawback of using these brown and earth tones is that sometimes the rocks come out looking a little spudtacular. One, two, three, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Ooh. So I wish I knew a little bit more about how turquoise is found. I'm imagining, it's Arizona, right? So it's got that red rock with a lot of iron oxide. Maybe. Oh, so No Face says, I found one in Riverside Park in Centralia, Washington that was painted like Grover from Sesame Street with a hashtag on the back. That's awesome. That is awesome. I have never found any Sesame Street style ones. I found a yellow submarine on the beach once, though. Okay, this one really now. This one seems to really look like a potato. Damn it. Okay, I'm just. I don't know. There's somebody in it. I need to let that dry for a minute. Hang on. if it keeps up like this, I'm just gonna have to do like a square of butter down here. It just, turquoises and potatoes. Oh, I've read through these before, so I, you know, somebody put some work into these. I don't think it's a bad thing to spend a little bit of time doing a little art show of the painted rocks that I've found in various places. Right? I was painting and it just made myself hungry. So, this beauty I found up on Mount Hood in Oregon at Government Camp, which is a name of a town up there. And this one also, somebody's really got some skills. And these are, I don't know if they're purchased or somebody cast them, but they've got a steady hand, whoever was painting those. And sometimes I'll find a frog. Just charming. Yeah, I think they're cast of. And I don't know if you can just buy them in the craft store already made, but they're not rocks, but they're round, so they're probably a lot of fun to paint. This one has a mop and bucket, and it says on strike. So somebody decided that she wanted to, or he wanted to, Lynn County Rocks. Found this one down at McDowell Creek. Kind of about midway on the western side of Oregon, but about halfway in the middle. And yeah, out on a trail near a waterfall. So went on strike, painted some rocks, and took a hike and left me a nice rock. So yes, the frog. The frog is fun, and like there's like a little subgroup of ones that I've tracked down over the blue or the green ladybug, which is Salem Kaiser rocks. I found that in a big park in Salem, the capital of Oregon. I think I found this green turtle in Silver Creek Falls, that area. And no hashtag. So they just painted it and set it free. You gotta love that. Well, there's 3 of them. I'm not sure. They almost they remind me of those oh no, I can't think what they're called. The English like Tinky Winky and the children's thing where they don't talk. They just kind of make noises. Anyway, but somebody really went to a lot of effort on this one. They Lincoln City Rocks. So this was over kind of about midway down the Oregon coast, and they've got a wavy water background and this whole yellow submarine and stars and a couple different kinds of fish and seaweed, and they very carefully outline things. And Teletubbies, there we go. Oh, I do return them back to the wild. They hang out here for a while, and then when I go on hikes, I take them to new places. Like the one that I got at the beach, I'll take out to the, I'll take it someplace far away and very different from where it was left. But they kind of hang out with me for a while, and I'm finding them frequently. And I don't think we have to return them to the wild. Do we? Is that how it works? I don't know. I never really did see the rules for it, but hi, Irish Mart. Irish Mart says, thinking she needs a large on-strike boulder. Do I have to really? I thought it was optional. I thought you could keep them or distribute them as you see fit. So I make these little guys out of polymer clay, and I distribute these out and about. They've got a little flower kind of a motif on them. And Irish Mart, I'm glad I see you here today. I have a question for you because I saw somebody in a chat with the nick Irish Marty, and I thought, I wondered if that was you because it didn't sound quite like you. And it seemed like if it wasn't you, that I would let you know about it, because that sounds like somebody trying to sort of impersonate you a little bit. So, yeah, I leave these guys out and about in the wild too. Jewels and mermaids, and sometimes plastic dogs and cats. See in the bottom there's, I don't know if you can see them. There's just little cats and dogs, and yeah, and my brain is just going, oh shoot. Well, it was Irish underscore and then MARTI and no Shamrock. And I thought, oh, that seemed a little bit sus. And I think I took a screenshot of what forum it was in, and I couldn't tell you where I was at right at the moment because my brain's not working great today. Yes, okay. So, No Face is going, you leave plastic toys out in the wild? Yeah, and that's it too. That is the that I have, and I assume that you're saying because is that littering? It might be littering. So I do tend to leave them like near the signs and kind of at the trailheads. Oh, this is making bad noises. So that they're not, because I don't want to litter. I don't want to leave plastic crap out in the wilderness. But I do want to make somebody smile because they found a mermaid. So it's a little bit of a push-pull. Well, phooey. Irish Mart, dang, yeah, that's troubling to me. Anyway, If that's the worst thing I do on any given day, I'm okay with that, I think. When I was down at Glass Beach in Fort Bragg, California, I found a little blue mermaid. There was a sign that was talking about how Glass Beach came to be, and somebody had lined up, I don't know, 3 or 4 of those little mermaids on the bottom of the sign, and so I adopted one of them and brought it home with me. And I was very charmed by it. So, somewhere I've got a little container of glass from, which may or may not have been collected from Glass Beach, where it's prohibited to collect glass, theoretically. I'm gonna get arrested. Ma apples? Okay, you've got to tell us. You've got to tell us, Irish Mart, what's going on with that? Where did I leave the paintbrush? Oh, golly. Well, people in Fort Bragg used to just use the ocean as the dump for about 50 years. They just like took the trucks to the cliff and tipped them over the edge, and literally used the Pacific Ocean as the city dump. So the waves just really broke down the garbage. And so what's left are pieces of glass, and the beach is just. Yeah, if you Google pictures of Glass Beach at Fort Bragg, okay, got it. Thanks, Irish Mart. Okay. And is that Joe Buchanan? Did Joe just change to something different there? Is that what? There's some evolutions going on that. Not sure what to make of. There's a lot of name changing going on right now. So yeah, the wave action just pulverized everything, and it took all the organic stuff away, and anything that could be broken down's been broken down. And of course, with our awareness in the 1960s, we decided that maybe it wasn't a great idea to just drop truckloads of garbage into the ocean. But what's left are interesting things like the soles of shoes, like all anything pulverized, and so the beach itself, it's quite beautiful, and that the Pacific can just turn all that garbage into a form of beauty is kind of remarkable too. Anyway, I love finding bits of beach glass. So when I went down to California in 23, took a little vacation and went and poked around San Francisco and Northern California. And it was just on my list that we needed to take the Coast Highway, and I needed to go to Fort Bragg and check out this Glass Beach. So, and it was really cool. I'm going for a chicken nugget here this time, no face. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I do, no face. Alrighty, just catching up on the chat here. Yeah, yeah. Did they ever figure out what that was? Did they think it might have been? Oh, just. I'm not going to detail that. I'll try. I'll try to keep it somewhat peaceable in here. But yeah, yes, no face. I do. I do recall that. It's the Pacific Northwest. There's a lot of strange things that go on around these parts. I'll have to check that out, Marty. The So why is Mount Shasta weird? Just because it's a volcano waiting to. I I had a I took the train back from San Francisco, and it the route, the Coast Starlight goes right past Mount Shasta, and right about sunrise. So the view of Mount Shasta was absolutely stunning. But No Face says it's weird. So weird, like you're this volcano might erupt, or weird, like, hey, Bigfoot might live there. Alien UFO Bigfoot hotspot of the world. I'm I'm taking that under advisement. uh, when I was a kind of that middle school age, I was fascinated with anything that was paranormal or ESP, UFOs, Atlantis, any of that stuff. And uh, I think like at this point, like I've done so much hiking and backpacking and camping, and I just think like I would have like I've been walking the planet for I'm in my seventh decade and I've driven around the Pacific Northwest like just all these sorts of places. And yeah, just would have thought I would have seen a UFO by now if I was going to see one. Oh, good. We do have shenanigans. I do like some shenanigans in a live stream. Now, what was that? That was like Fort Rock or something like that, that they were um, close encounters of the third kind. Oh, it's something, it's some sort of, somebody will have to Google that. I used to know it, but that was a long time. Okay. You have to admit, this one is a pretty good, this one, that's a pretty good rock. It's still just potatoes and Devil's Tower in Wyoming. There we go. Boy, I got a dark line around that potato. Oh. So, Maya, I don't think I properly greeted you when you came in. I'm so glad to see you. It feels like it's just been a couple of weeks of. Got here, raw umber. Okay. Just got the little. Got yellow all over the palette over here, so. Got such a mess of paint. I always get Close Encounters and E.T. just mixed up in my head. Wow, that one just went for. right to the... Paint just really flowed a lot more than I expected it to there, and just went running for the borders. And so is the electrician still there, or... Got the light squared away, I hope. So I've got in mind Tiger Eye. We'll see if this dries down. You just never really know until it dries down what it's gonna look like. But oh, just what you need. So Maya's had an electrician out to deal with the light in her bathroom, and now it has... it's so bright that she needs sunglasses. That's too bright. No, I want like soft pink bulbs. I don't need bright light. No one needs bright light where there are mirrors and, and nakedness. Just, if I'm getting out of a shower or a bathtub, I want nice lighting. Too much, I know, it's too much information. Well, there is a lot of deliberating, not a lot of painting. I have to... It's watercolor, right? I gotta think about what color, what paint's gonna go on here before I start getting things wet. I think we're just gonna go with some burnt... No, what did I use there? Piemontite. So I think I'm gonna go with burnt sienna, maybe. Or... I don't know. It's just paper. Alright. I'm gonna go with some more of this Lucas paint that... it travels. So I put a nice big puddle of water there and just want to take advantage of the paint. And I dropped in a little bit of bloodstone. And that does not travel. It just kind of drops in where you touch the brush to the paper and it doesn't move too much. But we'll let it dry down and see what it does here. Hey, Pondfish. I'm with you, No Face. Just, I don't need a spotlight for that. What? What? Ow. You guys know what that sound means. Time to pay the cat tax. All right. Come on. I'll be right back. It's, yeah, it's terrible. It's that is just looking so violently orange here. I'm not sure. I hope it dries down into something a little bit less violently orange. So, No Face, is the cat shown up yet? You just wonder, like, are they, like, did they find a nice spot under a shrub to curl up and they're just, like, they're taking a nap and they're just out being cats? Or did they con somebody into, like, letting them in where they're, getting a quarter cup of cat snacks? I think this time I'll actually mix the paint on the palette. We'll throw a little lunar black in this time. Alrighty. Uh, that is, Pondfish asks, is that the Primatech turquoise? I need a tube of turquoise that isn't phthalo turquoise. That is what it is. It only comes in the 15 milliliter tube, so you've got to buy the big one. I am currently in a standoff with the company that makes that paint. I have 3 customer service requests in and have gotten 0 response from them. And 3 customer service inquiries in with Jerry's Artorama, who sold me the paint, and no response from them other than to say, "Oh, we're working on it." So yeah, I'm kind of pissed off about it. I will say that, let's take a look over here. There's a color made by Grumbacher Academy that is called magnesium green. So this color right here is magnesium green, and it costs about $5 a tube. This color right beside it is Sleeping Beauty Turquoise Genuine, and it costs about $25 a tube. Um, the the $6 tube is it's a small one. But the color is it's right in there. Um, then what we have down here is sky. Wait a second here. Cobalt blue, cerulean blue chromium, sky blue. This one is Sleeping Beauty turquoise. This one is magnesium green. And then this is just Viridian. So I think if you add a little bit of yellow to that, you can kind of get in the neighborhood of it. I did another painting where I tried to do turquoises, and then this is that Primatech, and then I've added a little bit of the Lucas yellow PY42 yellow ochre, and it's given it that kind of not exactly the matrix, but sometimes when you look at raw turquoise, it's got a little bit of a sandy kind of a color to it. So that's how I got that effect there. Um, you guys, I can't track that. I gotta know what's going on there. Alrighty, so here are some of the turquoises that I painted using the magnesium green and just sky blue, which is it's just phthalo blue. Um, and I think like I don't know, they look very turquoisey to me. So I think I got some close approximations without actually using any of the Primatech paint. So this painting is still in the works, and I painted it before the genuine turquoise paint arrived. So I don't know if I hope that's helpful. Far be it from me to tell you not to covet paint, because acquiring paint is half the fun. But do feel free to experiment. Add a little bit of yellow into PB15. I think you can also get there from cerulean blue as well, which is PB36. And I would go with like maybe a little bit of a Hansa yellow, which is probably going to be like your lemon yellows. Yeah, your PY3s and your... You might even try a little bit of something like a May green. Mix that in with cyan. That might get you there too. But I would... yellow into cyan will get you into that turquoise range. Yeah, the cyan blue is quite okay. You see the really brilliant blue one right here? That's a primary blue, cyan. And this sky blue is pretty close to it. I think they're both coming from the pigment, blue pigment 15, which is a phthalo blue. And that'll get you into that, just that starting into that, just that greenish cast that reads as turquoise. Yeah, so I would advise, if you are looking into the Primatech paint, avoid the lapis lazuli. Very, very disappointed. Um, it's advertised as being 80% pigment, and if somebody can explain to me how when you fill a half pan the thing shrinks down by half, how that equals 80% pigment in the mix, the math ain't mathin'. So yeah, and I will say that the Sleeping Beauty turquoise also is a little. I was a little. I think of the Sleeping Beauty turquoise as being very much a sky blue, and the paint is. It's this bad boy right here, which I don't know if the camera's really going to do it justice, but it looks much more green and dark. And I think of, like, if you saw Sleeping Beauty turquoise set into jewelry, it would be very light blue, very bright. And this looks like a very greenish turquoise. Like, I squirted it out and I went, that doesn't really look like Sleeping Beauty turquoise. But when it dries down, it it lightens up a bit. But it still doesn't have that really sky blue that I think of the Sleeping Beauty turquoise as having. And I do jewelry. I work with all kinds of beads and stuff, so I am kind of familiar with what the raw material should look like. And I kind of think if you're gonna sell paint that's labeled as Sleeping Beauty turquoise, it really ought to be it ought to be the thing. It is it's about $24 and change for a 15 milliliter tube. And it does not come in half pans, and it does not come in the small tubes, the 5 milliliter tubes. So yeah, if you are near any kind of a craft store that carries the Grumbacher Academy, I would say get yourself a tube of the magnesium green, which is PB36. The phthalo blue is going to be PB15. Yeah, I mean, if you get it, yeah, let me know what you think of it. Because I've tried mixing it a little bit. I mean, frankly, like I cannot. I'm really pissed off at Daniel Smith right now at the non-response to the inquiries about the paint. Because when I got the tube of the lapis and I squeezed it out, and the first two half pans were just nothing but gum arabic. To the point that I just think, did somebody tamper with the paint? Like, did they squeeze it out and then did they just like steal paint out of the tube and then put water in it and cap it back up and that's like, it's so unlikely that anybody would actually do that. But I mean, that's how weird the paint was that my brain was going, what explains this? Because So after the second half pan of just gum arabic that came out of the tube, I put a skewer in and stirred the paint up. I've half a mind to just do just cut the tube out, do a video, and just let's see what's in the damn thing, because there's no way that it's 80% pigment and 20% gum arabic. So oh, no face. All right. Well, I hope who shows up and isn't out dawdling around too much longer doing cat stuff. Uh, and I mean, every once in a while, you're just going to get a tube of paint that was like at the end of the production run or something. Like, there must be some explanation for it, but the actual uh, just failure to respond is what's just grinding my gears. And other than that, I mean, I just have been having nothing but a, $300 love affair with Daniel Smith paints for the last few months. Probably more than that. They must have 25 tubes of their paint. So when something's gone a little bit awry, and the color's really off on it too. Like, it's not that bright medium blue that we would think of lapis having. So there's just something wrong about it, and the company I bought it from is not taking the return, and the company that made it is just been radio silent. So anyway, so what I started to say was I had started to do some mixtures to see in the way that I did with zoisite and the Minnesota pipestone. I had mixed it with a lot of other colors to just see what it did when it was mixed, and how it changed those other colors. And it just was a couple of great afternoons of experimenting with paint that hasn't been around for 200 years. So it was it was some good days of painting. And anyway, we'll see. I guess they still have time to, it's not like they're paying attention to my dinky little channel and give two rips about what I have to say about their product. But I guess I kind of hope when I spend that much money on a tube of paint that it's going to perform. And it's going to be the color it's supposed to be, and not some washed out gray. Not for $25 a tube. So anyway, I mean, as you can tell, I'm not. I'm pretty upset about it, and it's part of why I haven't been streaming for the last week. Is just trying to find a corner of the palette to be really happy about, instead of trying to deal with customer service or lack of customer service. Hi, Marla. Yeah, I hope who decides to come home soon too. How is it going? Wow, that just stayed violently. got I've got burnt umber right next to quinacridone burnt scarlet. And I just wonder if I wonder if I got into the quinacridone burnt scarlet. This is just violently orange. I think I'm gonna let it dry down and then just give it a wash of something. Maybe, uh, maybe blue. We'll take it down to brown a little bit. We'll use a little color theory there. But oh, I'm cranky about. I got a tube of paint and it's just it was not very much pigment in it and mostly gum arabic, and it was a $25 tube of paint. And I've contacted Daniel Smith and I've contacted Jerry's Artorama, and they're both just going la la la. Um, and it was a tube of paint that I had. Well, I'd gotten the die card because I was kind of looking at it. I like that blue color of lapis lazuli, and so I had been eyeballing it, but it was, yeah. And so I had kind of like been wanting it for about 3 months before I finally pulled the trigger and bought it. And then it came and it was like clearly something's wrong with the paint. And usually, like Jerry's Artorama has done a couple of other adjustments, and there was one item that was it was some white ink and it was really dried out, and they sent a replacement like right away and were super good with customer service. But on this one, uh, they're just not. I made a call and they said, "Oh, well, we'll need to see some pictures of some swatches." So I made swatches and sent them, and then crickets. And then I sent an email and said, "Hey, what's going on with my customer service inquiry?" And they went, "Oh, well, we haven't heard back from Daniel Smith, so la la la." Yeah. Well, you guys do. I'm not going to tell anybody you got to stop buying Daniel Smith paint because they make some great paint, but it's enough that you're just listening to me whine about my um, crankiness about this situation. It's bad enough my joy has been kind of spoiled at the moment, but yeah, try not to let it dampen your enthusiasm. If you've got good paint from them, enjoy the good paint. But I'm not going to be hashtagging them until they square it away. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, if that's the worst thing I've got to complain about in life, then then everything's great. And I mean, I live in America, so um, you know, better I complain about paint than some of the rest of the nonsense that's going on, eh? So this is the color that I was looking for, and it's got this wonderful granulation and sort of a warm tone, but that just looks, it looks like sun-kissed orange soda. That's not what I was going for. So, um, yeah, what do we got? I don't know if I've got room to put any more potatoes in here. So I was thinking, my thinking on this painting was that if I did some earth tones, that the turquoise would really pop off of there. Marla says on camera it has a dinosaur egg quality. Well, I like that. Speaking of fossils, I came across a little jar of rocks, and um, it was just things that I'd had in a coat pocket, and I kind of pulled them out and dropped them in a little container. And as I was going through, I found this fossil clamshell. Isn't that cool? it's a double, and I can't tell you how cool it feels. Like, I wish that you guys could feel this cool thing, because you can still feel the texture of this. It's wild. And I like picking up any kind of fossily sorts of things that I'll see on the beach every once in a while. This is a bit of sandstone that I don't know if it was quite fossilized. There's just a rock that's stuck in there, but these little bits of sandstone will wash up on the Oregon beaches, and sometimes there were little creatures or something in there that's just been eaten away, but yeah. You never know what I'm gonna grab up, do you? Oh, good. We have an update on who was outside, then ran into the dark bushes. There must be something that needs hunting or watching outside. Cats are funny people. Yeah, so every once in a while, a little fossily something or other. And it's pretty common. I've been watching this channel, Detect Florida. This guy has a metal detector, and he goes and he searches for jewelry and things that people have lost. And it's been very calming. I've been enjoying the daylights out of it. I might drop a link to his channel in the description when I update it. But in the Florida area, there are a lot of shark's teeth. And he'll pull up these, he'll be scooping looking for jewelry, usually like lost jewelry, and he scoops up stuff. And every once in a while, he'll just go, "Oh, there's a shark's tooth." I'd love to find a shark's tooth, but I probably have to go to the East Coast to do it. I don't know. I've heard of people finding them on the Oregon coast now and again, but I've never I've never been lucky enough to find one. But that'd be kind of cool, fossilized shark's tooth. But we've got a lot of we'll have lots of these types of fossils, lots of shells, and if you're over in central and eastern Oregon, you can find leaf fossils and things like that at some of the John Day fossil beds and other areas. So, but I don't know. I don't know that we have dinosaurs. But yeah, so now I'll have to go Google and see what dinosaur eggs look like. I'm guessing kind of oval and brown. Well, I think I don't know. You guys want to see a? Should we do a finish up with a pebble drawing, pebble sketch of some kind here? Desert Drifter. No. But if he's chill, I will check him out. Because I had just needed to switch gears and get away from the, well, you know. I'm gonna sue somebody, I'm gonna fight with somebody, I'm gonna yell about somebody. Turns out we don't have to, We don't just spend all the time paying attention and um, giving attention to that. It's not healthy. This is a pretty good blank. I don't know if you guys can see how it's almost like a pinky blue, purple, green, dawn colors. So, yeah, so what else I've been watching? I've been watching a guy in Australia polish black opal into gemstones, and I think that channel name is Black Opal Australia. A virtual hike. Okay. All right. I'm definitely down for that. Desert Drifter. So, and Dan Hurd, who is a Canadian and who does, he's got he must have like 40 mining claims and he's always out looking for this, that, and the other thing. So, rock hounding. And, that got me into the part of YouTube where people are cutting agates in half and, cutting gemstones and just it's been a good week of peaceable kind of creative the guy that's looking for people's lost wedding rings and giving them back their watches, and it's like it's kind of nice to just watch people be nice and creative, and instead of just hassling. I don't know quite how I fell into the area of YouTube where people are just hassling about this and that. Uh, it's just not good for my blood pressure and my health to be all tangled up in that, so. I don't know. Um, I like to think I still might have some good to do in the world in terms of letting people know about cults and high demand religions, but I may have hit the wall. Oh, cool. No Face says, so Desert Drifter does mostly southwestern Native American stuff, like the blinds they would make in the cliffs, etc. Oh. Yeah, I got to see some of that when I was in Santa Fe for the summer. Maya says, have you seen the guy who is finding weird spots on Google Maps and then he goes there to find ancient stuff? That is very cool. I have seen that where he'll see structures out in Utah and Colorado, and then he hikes out to go see what he looks at Google Maps until he finds something that's weird looking, that looks like it's a man-made shape out in the middle of the wilderness, and then he hikes out, and sometimes it's a modern structure. I think I was watching one time and I was like, oh, that's gonna be some sort of Anasazi dwelling, and then he gets out there and it's like a cap on some sort of an aquifer that was plurgreepy. No Face is dubbed this plurgreepy. Yeah. And that kid that goes out and does that, he seems like he's pretty young, in his 20s. And it's really fascinating. I know there's some people who are analyzing Google images of water to find vehicles that may have entered the water. And they made some recoveries and also just gotten cars out of ponds and reservoirs and things like that, which is good because automobiles have a lot of lots of fluids that can leak. We don't really need that in our well, we don't need it. The fish and the things that live in the water don't need it in there either. So I love all that kind of. I love maps and I love the satellite imagery and any of that kind of stuff is kind of interesting. So I'd taken a bit of a break from painting to try to get some of the um, some of the completed paintings into frames and start to think about getting the body of work ready to be shown at the co-op gallery. And I really just got myself like, it's such a change of pace and it's really a different creative task. And I found that I got myself out of the groove for painting. So I've been struggling this last couple of weeks to get back to painting. And it's just a matter of coming to the workbench and then being um, engaging in the work. If you're not painting, you're not going to create anything. Uh, it really the discipline is just to show up and to pick up the paintbrush. It's not to necessarily create a masterpiece every time, but you're not going to paint a masterpiece unless you're painting. So you really have to be painting if you're going to be a painter. And when I was working on those framing projects, I just got my mindset kind of out of the painting groove and into the framing groove. And hi, Sandy. So anyway, it's not always easy, but you know, you just okay. Catching up with the chat here. We got a question. So how do I stop myself from falling into doing patterns instead of the randomness of the setting? I rely on the paint to do it. Each of these little squares, um, I'm going to leave that space open. It's kind of cool, that big open space there. So I've got a couple of different processes going on here. Sometimes I have a piece of paper and I start by drawing. Every once in a while, I do draw the shapes on, and then I put the paint inside the graphite shapes. Very often, I just grab the paper and I just start painting rocks. And then I'll fill in, which is the process that we saw on this one, which I was just actually kind of cleaning the palette. I had a lot of greens mixed up, so yeah, that's true. So No Face says that I don't pick the pebbles. The pebbles kind of pick themselves, and yeah, that is that is where I'm at now. It was certainly a process over the months, but ordinarily, for these little pebble drawings, which are just mindfulness exercises for me, they just help me to get centered. I start with a layer of paint on the squares, and then I might add another color. And each of these squares, like here's one that just got like one layer of color on it. You can keep them, Marla. Give yourself permission. Sometimes when you make something beautiful, you can keep it, you can enjoy it, and it's absolutely okay to do that. So, let's start with like something like this that's got one layer on it. And then on most of these, I'll do 2 or 3 layers, and it could be watercolor paint. It could be sometimes I'll use Neocolor 2 or any water-based media, and I'll just build up, 2 or 3 layers of this, that, or whatever kind of catches my imagination. Let's go with this nice. I've got a new brush, which is a quill, so it's nice and chubby right at the base of it, and then it comes out to a beautiful taper. So nothing too fancy, just letting the brush, the water, the media do that. And what I'm aiming for as I put these layers on is to just get not too many harsh lines and some variation in the how do I want to describe this? I guess in the depth of the paint or the thickness of it, so that some areas are more translucent and some are more opaque. And then when I go to draw, so when this will dry down, there'll be areas where there might be something that suggests itself as I draw, bigger, smaller. And that, by following what the paint is doing and just being in the moment, that's the mindfulness aspect of it, to just kind of be in the moment with it. That's how the the question was, how do I avoid falling into a pattern? And it's just that, just all of those things add up to sort of a randomness that so the shapes sort of present themselves. I think in some ways, like, to look at them, I think there are some patterns that do look like they're familiar. But no two are exactly alike. So, Maya, you had a question from a couple of weeks ago, which was how many? And I have the stack of the paintings, and I finally like relented and counted them, and it's just over 100. It's like I want to say 106 or thereabouts. So. So good. Marla says she's keeping them and she's framing them. Yay! The set of playing cards. Ooh. Yeah, I am. I'm really enjoying this brush. It is a Silver Atelier blending quill, and it's just a little bit stiffer for the way I paint. They make I think it's a, I can't remember. There's a couple of different quills that they make, and I finally just decided to spring for a good brush because I had been kind of going through those $5 Sumi E brushes. So, yeah. Hi, Shoto. Hello. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, you guys want to see a handful of those before we... Why not? Why not? Let's just do that. I'm toying with that. Somebody suggested, like, what if we just put all of these together into one big painting? And my brain is grinding away on that. Style Audit, hello. Good to see you. We're working on a painting and outlined another painting. Did a little pebble drawing. So I'm at the stage with these where I'm working on adding in some lines and taking the next step. And I thought the lines that were on these African trade beads were really cool, and so I might borrow some of the motifs from those to decorate these. a little bit further, but yeah, we might have a couple of them. So there's quite a stack of them, and I did lay them out kind of in color groups. So could they go into almost like be used like a quilt, or there was something about them that reminded me of Tiffany stained glass a little bit too. The color gradations. And it got me thinking about a mosaic, like, you know, the Tiffany stained glass lamps that have the dragonflies or the grape leaves and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, aren't they cool? No pot. Yeah. Yeah, they. I've worn them a time or two. It's actually a necklace that's strung on some kind of raffia. I've had them for quite. I've had them for years, and I'm sure that probably, you know, they've been making these type of beads for hundreds of years. So it's hard to know how old these actually are, but they're really. I love this kind of stuff. And I picked these up at a trade show and just they were sold to be taken apart and used, and I just went. I just never had the heart to take them. Um, they are glass with enamel fused on, like a. There's a texture you can feel, so and it's fused onto the glass. Um, I used to know more about them. I think this is a Kiffa bead, Kiffa, or a king bead. Um, but they would have been strung like this to be sold. It wouldn't have been worn. So, pretty cool. Anyway, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these. I kind of like them just arranged like a quilt, but then the more I looked at them, I started to think about those Tiffany lamps, and so I might use these in a collage. The other thought that I had, and there's a couple people out who pop in every once in a while who are artists who work with the epoxy resin, and I'm wondering if one of these could be dropped into a square and made into a coaster where there was like a black epoxy at the back, and then drop this in and then put clear epoxy, maybe even with a little bit of glitter in it on top. Like, I think that'd make a really fun set of coasters. Yeah, so could they be set in resin? And then my other thought is, like, what if they were cut into like a teardrop shape with a hole pierced and with a light layer of resin, like they could almost be turned into jewelry. Um, some of these are really fun colors. So, yeah, just my brain is kind of working on it now because there's, it's like a new art supply, right? Yeah. So Style Audit says, yes, a large tile grouping is reminding me of something I saw here in the Mexican Museum of Art. Joe Bananas, hello. Good to see you. Good to see you. One thing I did do, I've got a whole stash of these paper mache boxes. and they have a little window in the lid. So that's kind of fun. It's really not treating it like fine art, but I do like things that are utilitarian. So we've got some that have been dropped into frames, and yeah. So I'm not sure just exactly which direction I'm gonna go. Because I've probably got a dozen of these boxes, and they are sets. So I think there's 3 or 4, and they stack inside of each other. So that's kind of that would be kind of a fun set. I do think everything in my environment should be decorated. So that's that is you just never know where the art's going to where it's going to turn up. But I'm not opposed to like making these into coasters and having them be something to be admired and enjoyed. So and in the meantime, I mean, I am now got a couple of pads of cotton paper that I'm working on. So these ones are those ones are worth getting a mat cut and framing them. The other ones that are just this is watercolor paper. It is acid free, but it is a pulp paper, so it's cellulose, wood, or something along those lines. Yeah, did I run those guys past you guys yet? Yeah, I'm making a little bit of progress getting stuff framed. And then I'm liking these little. I think I'm going to cut down some of the small ones and do them where they do have quite. Maya says she's thinking about the pictures in with a mat where there's quite a lot of mat, and so I have picked out some that. Now I just have to find some square frames that'll accommodate those guys. So, um, yeah, what isn't that fantastic? And this was a frame that I bought ages ago, and then I infilled it with polymer clay and baked it and cured the polymer clay down in here because it was just sort of a very metal looking frame, and like it's just so perfect with the oranges in here with the little fish painting. So yeah, I actually got a frame. So this is a clip frame. It's just a real sort of a basic sort of a backing and a glass top, and it's got a very clean look. I like these quite a lot, but I also I like all kinds of frames, and I'm gonna put things in a variety of frames. I decided because not everybody has a house that's just furnished in the style from the last 12 months. A lot of people have like a 1980s oak aesthetic, or maybe, you know, I mean, I think I like people to take the art home and put it on their wall. So you want to have something that's going to match a wide variety of decor so that people can find something that looks like it's going to go in their house. And not everybody has modern furnishings, so I think it's good to just frame things in lots of different ways. So, No Face has a suggestion: make a collage with the tiles on top of a coffee table and then clear coat it. He would buy it. That is a cool idea. So, so the frame was just metal, and it has these metal spots that rise up, but the back of the frame is like it drops down, so that there were these sort of metal things sticking up, and it just looked really, I don't know, like it was machine made and too masculine. And so I just mixed up polymer clay, and then I just worked it down into the frame. So this orange part here is polymer clay, and I just infilled it, and then baked it. Started it from a cold oven and then brought it up to the 235 or whatever temperature for whichever brand this was. And then you cure it in an oven at heat and then let it cool down. And I've got a couple more like this that I bought. It's, someplace like Ross Dress for Less or something along those lines. And so I just basically kind of used the polymer clay like it was a grout almost. Yeah, the clip frames are very 90s style. Cool. Joe says she has a massive one that she holds all of her gig tickets in for display, and I assume you're talking about the clip frames. Yeah, they're awesome. Well, uh, no face. It was supposed to be 2 hours, but we've run right over because you guys get me talking about the art show, and then every day we got more pieces to run through the art show. But well, I want to thank everybody for coming in. It is very late at night here for me, and we're almost to 2.5 hours. So I just want to say thanks. I feel like I'm getting back in the art groove a little bit more, and that is that's the benefit of live streaming. I think that was just such a surprise to me. Like I just had no idea until I started doing it what it was going to be like to hang out and talk with people about the art and about the creative process. And I didn't really, like, you just can't know until you start doing it what it's going to be. And it's just a it's just a pleasure, and it is usually I find it feeds my creative side to come and spend a little time doing this. So I really appreciate everybody who comes and chats and hangs out, and who watches, and I appreciate the comments, the likes, and I really appreciate the company so much. So let's just gonna take another quick look at the comments, and you guys might have heard a little tone there. That was my phone telling me that its battery is getting pretty low. So no face. Thanks for spending some time, and I'm so glad the cat The cat came back. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if the so Marla, if the frame can stand the heat, I did. I think I bought two or three of these. I don't know. I bought a handful of them, and I did. The first time I ran it through the oven, I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go, because sometimes it might have a coating, or heat is gonna have an interaction, but these did pretty well. So as long as the frame can take the heat, go for it. And if you think it can't, like, feel free to paint it or just do something. I almost always modify the frames that I buy. Sandy says, "You're very talented. Thank you for sharing your art. It brings great joy." Well, you're very welcome. Thank you. So, oh, they do look like potatoes. You're not wrong, No Face. So we got the orange and brown ones. I had already had the turquoise ones laid in there, but we got the other ones in today, so that was pretty good. And this painting, I I made the painting today while I was just had some nice daylight coming into the studio, and then at the beginning of this video, we just did the outlines of the little pebbles here on this painting, and then we had a little pebble drawing. So that was the art show. It's not glue perpy. Oh. Yeah, it's really interesting when once you get the outlines in, it doesn't look like much, and then you throw the outlines on, and all of a sudden you've got blue rocks and purple rocks and pink rocks. It's just a lot of fun. So uh, that'll wrap us. That'll do it for tonight. I'm gonna wrap this up, and thanks again everybody for coming in. Thanks Maya for moderating and hanging out, and I hope that you all just take a little bit of time and spend some time with your art, spend some time with yourself, and find that peace of mind. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.